and consider who might succeed Boris Johnson. It's clear how the Conservatives intend to portray Sadiq Khan. The Prime Minister said this week that if Labour's man became mayor, Londoners would become lab rats in an experiment in Corbynism foisted on the capital. Khan says he's his own man, and at this stage, as we said last week, he's ahead in the available polling. Jerry Thomas reports.
Labour's candidate for mayor, Sadiq Khan, invited our cameras to a Hackney building site this week. The message he wanted to present, that he was the man to fix London's housing problem.
I'm going to set up in City Hall a Homes for Londoners, which does what it says on the tin, making sure there are genuinely affordable homes to rent and buy built in London.
He's also promising a target for 50% of new homes being built to be affordable, an old City Hall policy that was scrapped by Boris Johnson. Its reintroduction could prove controversial. This week, the Home Builders Federation, who represent property developers, told us
the 50% affordable target was put in place by Ken Livingstone when he was mayor. It was never achieved. Imposing prescriptive targets threatens the viability of development, resulting in fewer homes overall being built.
While housing was the focus this week, the Labour candidate has also put transport centre stage with promises to freeze fares for 4 years, increase the size of the so-called ultra-low emission zone, which will introduce restrictions on all but the cleanest vehicles from driving in zones 1 and 2, and to pedestrianise Oxford Street. On Wednesday, the Prime Minister could hardly have been clearer about what he thought it would mean.
Just think for a moment what having, the first Corbyn elected mayor like in London would be for our economy, for our education, for our politics, for our city. It would be a disaster. You do not want to be lab rats in the first Corbyn economics experiment in public life in our country.
However, the mayoral candidate has been keen to strike a very different tone to Jeremy Corbyn on some issues, like the importance of business.
I want to be the most pro-business mayor we've ever had. Jobs, growth, increased productivity means they make more profit, they can employ more Londoners and pay them a living wage. I want London to be a living wage city, the first of its kind in the world.
So, what to make of a man who says he is resolutely pro-business, but is accused of helping to usher in the hard left? Conservatives say the answer is simple.
His line has changed over the years as the Labour Party line has changed. There's very little consistency there, a lot of flip-flopping. So I think with Zach, he's much more independent-minded, and I think he'll find it easier to work with all the different parties that have power in different parts of London, and that makes him better potential candidate to be mayor, in my view.
While the Conservatives may claim he is evasive and a difficult man to pin down, there is one unshakable truth they have to accept about Sadiq Khan. Right now, he's ahead in the polls, and the bookies' favourite to be the next mayor of London.
And he is here now. Sadiq Khan, welcome to you. Pro-business, we've heard you saying that. Business wants, doesn't it, a mayor with financial credibility and someone who can ensure a stable transport system and so on. Why would you give away hundreds of millions of pounds that you could be using for investment in the transport system with a fares freeze guaranteed for 4 years?
Well, one of the most important things Londoners need is a transport system they can afford to use. Public transport in London is the most expensive in Europe. Over the last 8 years, it's doubled. So I've set out a fully funded fares freeze for 4 years, and I've set out how we're going to pay for that. Boris Johnson himself accepts my figures. It'll cost, roughly speaking, £450 million.
He doesn't, as you know, does he? He doesn't, does he? And if you're going to say that he did before, he doesn't now.
He was an LBC 2 weeks ago accepting my figures. Now, let me explain how...
More importantly, because you've raised that straight away, more importantly, as you know, his transport agency says that you would cost Londoners 1.9
can I correct you again?
billion. 1.9 billion they're saying. Now, why is there such a discrepancy between your two sets of figures?
TfL's figures says that this year, Boris Johnson's fare increase, the 8th in its roll, will cost £43 million. I've promised a fares freeze over 4 years. Let me explain why it's important.
Let's keep the viewers with us, though. The cost of you freezing the
is £43 million a year.
Not even allowing it to go up with inflation is £43 million a year.
You will pay the same...
At the moment, you say.
You will pay the same fare this time 2020 that you pay now.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not allowing even for an inflation rise.
Well, let me explain to you how
why
we're going
would
to
you
pay
do
for
that
this.
when the costs are going up?
Because our public transport system is the most expensive in all of Europe. And let me explain to you how we're going to pay for this. We're going to merge TfL's engineering functions. Currently, you have a different one for underground and one for surface. That alone brings in more than £400 million. Let me give you some more examples.
If it was so sensible, why has that not been embarked upon? Because TfL say that will not make the savings that you say.
Actually, not true. TfL have said they will make sure that the new mayor has his promise fulfilled. And let me explain to you how we're going to do this. So I've explained to you we're going to merge the engineering functions. Last year, TfL spent almost £400 million on consultants and agency workers. We're going to cut that by at least half. Last year, £61 million was lost by fare evasion. We're going to cut that as well. TfL also needs to sweat its assets much more. Hong Kong's Transport Authority raises more money via
which assumes they haven't been doing very much up to now. But just let me just come back to the fundamental point about why you would make such a promise. Why would you bind yourself when you have the right and ability, depending on what the financial climate is, to consider things year on year? Why do you accept it looks a bit like some kind of populist gesture rather than a very businesslike, financially prudent measure?
It's a policy Londoners need. After housing...
Populist, then. It's popular. You accept that. It's not based on financial reason.
After housing, public transport is the second biggest expenditure families
we know
face.
that, but do you accept that it's a kind of populist measure? That you're not denying, are you, that that money is money you're giving back to fare payers, and if you had that money, you could use it for investment?
It is disgraceful that Londoners in week 3 of week 4 are choosing between food and fares. I want to be a mayor for all Londoners. That means helping Londoners get from home to work. And that means freezing the fares.
How are you helping them, though? You're not helping them if their network is not being invested in and there aren't more trains and better services.
And this is why, unlike the current Deputy Mayor of London, who's promised a fares cut, should have been elected the Mayor of London. He's actually got experience of running stuff, unlike Zach Goldsmith. I'm promising
I noticed he didn't win the mayoral nomination. It didn't impress the Conservatives very much.
I'm promising a fares freeze, and it's really important Londoners know that over the last 8 years, fares have gone up. I'm promising you'll pay exactly the same fare, not a penny more.
I know, you're repeating that promise.
We've
been told, so our transport correspondent's been told that you've actually misunderstood the figures, that you haven't taken into account Crossrail, which comes into play, opens in 2018, and you are in effect giving up millions, hundreds of millions of pounds that you could get from people coming, many of them from outside London.
Well, as I said to you, what I've promised is, I'm quite clear with this, and I've not misunderstood Crossrail. Unlike any other candidate, I've actually got experience of being a minister in transport and was the minister for Crossrail, and I was the minister who took through the bill that means businesses pay £4 billion towards Crossrail, and it will open in 2018 and 2019. Parts open a bit earlier than other parts, and it's really important that we use those revenue streams sensibly.
And TfL are saying you're not. The TfL are saying that's why they are saying you're going to cost,
to be fair,
£1.9 billion, because you haven't thought of those.
To be fair, they're not saying that. And you know they're not saying that.
They have told us that.
You know they're not saying that. And what I'm saying is this. My fares freeze is fully funded. We're going to make sure that we make the savings this mayor's not made, but we're also going to increase revenue streams. You know, think of Hyde Park. TfL owns 16 times Hyde Park. We can build in Hyde Park the genuinely affordable homes Londoners need, but also it's a really important revenue stream as well. I'm a person with a plan, with the experience to make sure TfL works for Londoners rather than every year the fares going up.
Let's talk about homes. So you're promising Londoners get first dibs, you say, first call on homes, not just on public land, mayoral land, which we heard from Zach Goldsmith last week, but on all land. So is that people who are born in London, they get first choice?
So what we're going to stop happening is developers marketing properties off plan overseas before they're available for Londoners. Last year, for example, one estate agent marketed 7,000 properties in the Middle East and Asia.
But that's marketing, or even now you can market at the same time, and even now you can market one day later, but it still means foreign buyers will be able to buy that property.
This is an important point, but it's really important that Londoners get first dibs to buy this property. This means, for example, as part of the planning condition, you can't have properties available for sale less than 6 months before completion. One of the biggest challenges Londoners have is persuading a building society to give a mortgage when a home's going to be completed more than 6 months later. So we're going to, as part of the London plan, say to developers, say to local authorities, no more can you sell off-plan to investors overseas. Our homes can't be gold bricks for investors. They should be homes for Londoners.
Easier said than done, though, as you know. So you will accept, though, won't bet you that developers will not like this because they get a lot of upfront money, which ensures you get more developments in the end and thus more affordable housing by using some of this foreign investment. And you'll accept, will you, as well, that, Londoners first or any kind of restriction you put in the planning system, that's an interference with the market. That's again going to put developers off coming forward.
Well, look, your reporter who came with me to Hackney this week will have seen for himself what Hackney Council have done, Labour Hackney, is as part of the condition on that development we saw, made sure that the private developer working in partnership with the council cannot sell overseas.
We're talking about huge scale across London. Zach Goldsmith told us about that last week.
To be fair, Tim, you asked me a question, I'm giving you an answer.
But
so Labour Hackney
tell me you
have
can
shown
do that at scale across London.
Yes,
when
we
you've got a
can.
lot of boroughs that won't want to do that, they'll say we won't want that kind of housing.
Well, yes, we can. There are 32 boroughs. Some are already doing this. We need to make sure all boroughs do this. And that's why you have a mayor of London who drafts a London plan. And the London plan will be used by all 32 London boroughs, and also developers will know where they stand. We need to bring certainty to the market. And by the way, that also means defining what I mean by affordable homes. Not homes costing £450,000.
Because this is where you'll bring even less certainty, isn't it? Because you'll bring even less certainty.
It's making sure homes are genuinely affordable for Londoners.
You'll bring less certainty, won't you? Because you'll say that you can achieve 50% affordability on the total housing over the next 4 years. When's that target last been reached? Well, has it been reached at all?
Well, look, we've had a Conservative here for the last 8 years. Let me give you examples.
Has it been reached? Just answer me that one first.
In some authorities it has.
Across London, we've never got higher than 39%, have we?
To be fair, only 21 of the 32 boroughs are Labour. But let me give you some examples.
Well, no, that's precisely my point,
let me give you some examples.
So are you accepting your reach will only be, you won't hit a 50% target? It will be impossible to do.
We have a London plan which covers all of London. At the moment, you've got some really good local authorities trying their best with their hands tied behind their back with a current London plan that allows developers to market affordable homes costing 80%.
But how will you persuade developers
value?
again to come forward and build when you're telling them that 50% of them have to be affordable? There won't be the profit margins. It won't happen.
Let me give you another example. I gave you an example of Labour Hackney. Let me give you an example of Camden. In Camden, I was visiting a development 2 weeks ago, which is warehouses owned by the council. It could have sold it off to private developers. Instead, they're working with a private developer, in this case Savills, and making sure half of the homes are genuinely affordable for Camden residents. And by the way, the other half are market value. And the revenue streams from the market value mean that you've got genuinely affordable homes for Camden residents.
And I've already made the point.
Also enough money to refurb the council estates. You can do that at a small scale in some boroughs, but across London. Let's just move on. Stephen Hammond, the Prime Minister's comments about London becoming, or Londoners, lab rats and an experiment in Corbynism. What does he mean by that? What would happen to London under Corbyn?
Well, I think that there are some real questions. You've already seen that Corbyn is not pro-business. Sadiq may or may not be pro-business, but Corbyn certainly isn't. But I think the key question for Londoners is, listening to Sadiq there, why is it that TfL say there's £1.5 billion black hole in his fares plan? Simply because it isn't affordable. It will hurt investment in the tube system, the overground system, and a number of the other projects that are coming forward. A number of things he mentions are already being done, particularly bringing forward land into the London Land Commission, but also TfL itself. The 50% affordable homes target was dropped because it didn't work. Livingston failed to deliver. Boris has delivered. And this
not 50%.
But he's delivered 100,000 homes, which he promised to do. And let's not forget that. And also, don't forget, this 450 is a cap. There are affordable homes being built in Greenwich as we sit here today at £150,000. It doesn't have to be at the 450.
Well, it's very interesting, just to raise the point again, a neutral body, Transport for London, saying that they have plans for investment and 1.9 billion is what they thought they'd get, but they wouldn't get under a car mayoralty.
2 points. Firstly, TfL don't say that. But second, you had on your programme 2 weeks ago. You asked me the question.
Well, you keep on saying that they are saying that. They told us that.
You had on your programme 2 weeks ago one of the world's leading experts on London, the LSE's Professor Tony Travers. And Tony Travers says he's changed his mind from 2012. In 2012, he thought it wasn't possible to have a fares freeze. You will know, he now says it is possible. Let me tell you why it's possible.
He says
and
it's
let
possible.
me tell you why it's possible.
It's just whether it's a sensible, prudent thing to do if you want to fulfil all your other dreams of a transport network.
And let me tell you why it's possible. Because I have the experience and I have the political will to do this, because Londoners need a mayor on their side. That means not just simply building genuinely affordable homes, that means ensuring they can afford a modern transport system.
Russian O'Reilly, Tower Hamlets, your patch has never achieved anything like 50% affordability either, Labour borough.
Well, what we've done is, in the past, we had the support of the former London mayor in making sure we had housing for key workers. What you've got at the moment is the London mayor overriding planning decisions. For instance, let's take the Bishopsgate goods yard, which is thousands of properties, towers going up, and most Londoners won't be able to afford to buy them. Boris Johnson has decided to recall planning decisions by Hackney and Tower Hamlets, where only 10% of properties would be affordable under this scheme. That kind of contradictory behaviour is completely at odds with trying to deal with London's housing crisis. What I want to see is a mayor working in partnership with local authorities, not just Labour local authorities, all local authorities, to make sure that we apply the right kind of pressure on developers, because they're going scot-free and making profit, but doing very little for Londoners.
In the time we have left, is Jeremy Corbyn a help or a hindrance to your campaign?
Well, look, Jeremy Corbyn is not going to be on the ballot paper on May the 5th, nor is David Cameron or Boris
Absolutely.
Johnson.
We know that as well. So what's the answer?
What's important is I set out my vision for London. I'm the person standing to be mayor of London. There'll be many occasions where I agree with Jeremy Corbyn. There'll be some occasions where I disagree. What Londoners want to see is somebody who's not a patsy of their party leader, whether it's David Cameron or Jeremy Corbyn. They want somebody who's got experience, who's got values, and who's got vision to be the best mayor this city's ever seen.
You know why I would ask it. Will he be an asset to your campaign, and will he be out campaigning with you between now and polling day?
Absolutely. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn is passionate about reducing inequality. Jeremy Corbyn understands far better London's housing crisis than any of the other party leaders. But what's important for Londoners is to see a candidate and a mayor standing up for London, not being in the pocket of the Prime Minister, but standing up to the government where it needs to happen, but also working with the government, which is in the interest of London.
We've got just under 100 days to go, and we hope you'll come back to explore some of the further issues between now and then. Thanks so much indeed.